Hey guys, it's Viviana Lourdes and welcome to my channel. How y'all doing today? Today we're gonna get into the tea. How I hid my pregnancy for 7.5 months. Shh. Yeah, no, for real. Uh, yeah, I was 18 years old and I was pregnant. I hid my pregnancy for 7.5 months from my family, majority of my friends, my husband's family, his friends. Um, yeah, yeah. So let's get into it. We graduate high school. We've been together for I don't know, 4 years, 5 years, 4 years, 3 plus 3, 6 years. I don't know. We've been together since sixth grade. I found out I was pregnant. How I found out I was pregnant with my first son. I got a job after high school as a CNA, and I was just walking in the nursing home, throwing up all over the nursing home. And one of the little old ladies pulled me to the side and they were like, "Girl, you're pregnant. You need to take a test." And I was like, "No, I can't be. I just graduated. I'm going to college." She was like, "No, you're pregnant. Go take a test." So, girl, I gave it another week of working and I was just throwing up everywhere. Everywhere. Oh my God. I had this little old lady. She was like, "Anytime you feel sick, just come to my room. Shh, I won't tell nobody." Mind y'all, I'm like 2 weeks into the job, y'all. I just thought that it was the way that the place smelled. It didn't have like a bad smell. It just smelled like cleaning products, let me be honest. And y'all, I bought the test. And when I took that test, the P barely hit the line. Positive. Like, I was like, "Oh, I'm pregnant and what am I gonna do?" And I found out on my anniversary that I was pregnant with my high school sweetheart. It was our anniversary, so we were and 2 days after my birthday. And I was like, "Oh, look now." So honestly, it was a blessing. But my son is now 7 and I hid him. How did I do it? Let's get into it. That was just the backstory. My parents were super strict. They would never let me really go out too much or anything. And this time I'm 18. So that's when I started really like going with my boyfriend and husband now. But we were just like, I don't know, we were being young, dumb, broke high school kids. And thinking about it, yeah, we was just really, and so we didn't tell nobody. We made an appointment, did everything ourselves. I told my mom when I was like 3 months pregnant. I was scared. I thought they were gonna, I don't know. I was just scared. So how I told her was I showed her a sonogram and I just said, "Hey mom, I'm pregnant." And we had a little something like before in high school that she kind of this time was not that like the time before. We'll get into that another story time, but like this time around she was like, "Wow, okay, well, you're gonna be the one to tell your dad and good luck to you." She didn't give me a time frame, girl, so I kind of like postponed it. So I was going to all my doctor's appointments. We were excited. We were buying stuff on the low and I was hiding it in my room, and my mom was buying stuff for the baby too. She didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. She was just excited of buying stuff. Like, she would sneak in my room and be like, "Look what I got the baby." And I'm like, girl, I'm only like 4 months pregnant now at this time. And then 5 months rolls around. I find out it's a boy. And I got a name. And 6 months rolls around. Nobody's noticing. They're not saying anything. Shh, like literally. And she didn't say nothing. She kept her mouth closed. Nobody knew except for my mom, my niece, and I want to say my boyfriend told his siblings, and they was quiet. Nobody knew. And my best friend at the time knew, and that was it. Nobody else knew. Not my brother, nobody, y'all. My cousin fucking knew. She knew too. And man. And after that, 7 months rolls around, and my mom started being like, girl, you're gonna have the baby, and are we just gonna bring your dad to the hospital or what? Mind you, my parents are very active in my life. They see us every day, of course. They live together, they're together. I have a sibling at the time. My brother passed away, but he's 2 years older than me. He didn't even notice. I was so skinny, literally so skinny. You could barely see a bump. And I was nervous, y'all. So 7.5 months rolls around, and I'm like, I need to tell this old man. By old man, I mean my pops. I'm like, because I think the baby is starting to show. Of course, at 7.5 months, girl, what you mean? But my stomach was still pretty flat. And so what I did was I seen my dad, this specific day. I don't know why I chose the specific day, but my dad was outside. They just had a big old party. Everyone was chilling. They ended up staying over. My parents would have these really big parties, and let's just say they was all drunk and just thrown everywhere. Not them, but the people they would invite over. Our family, in other words. If you're drinking, stay at our house. In other words, it's kind of like their rule. Like if you were drinking at their house, you need to spend the night because they don't want to be responsible for nothing. And so I had all my uncles over, and I had let's just say that. And my dad is, I guess, sitting outside. Everybody already went to sleep, and I walk outside, and I'm like, damn, I need to tell him. I don't know if right now is a good time because he was a little buzzed, but my dad is very intimidating. He is a big, giant man, and I'm literally his baby. So I was just like, hey, Dad. He was like, what are you still doing awake? And I was just like thinking, I gotta tell you something. And he was like, well, what is it? And then I'm like, yeah, so, and then I tried to change the subject, and he's like, no, you need to tell me what you were gonna tell me. And then I was like, I'm pregnant. And he just looked at me like, and I'm like, yeah, I'm pregnant, Dad. And then he didn't even cry, smile, laugh. He was just like, what? And then I'm like, yeah. So he's like, how many weeks are you? And I'm like, Dad, I show him the picture, and he's like, wow, the baby looks very like defined. Like you could see the head. They didn't have this when your mom had you. And he just was not ready for it. So then I'm like, yeah, it's a boy. And he's like, a boy? How would you know so early? And then I told him, well, he's gonna be here like in July. So he's like, and looks at me and starts like, you're playing. And then I'm like, no, I'm 7.5 months pregnant, daddy. Oh, y'all. When I say he like started chuckling, but like crying and like, yes. Like it was real bad. Like I had never seen him so nervous in his whole entire life. And he just stayed looking at me and was like just staring at me. And then he was like, well, how didn't I notice? And I said, I don't know. And then so he felt my stomach and he was like still in disbelief because I was skinny as hell. And he was just like, well, wow. Like, just like he was happy. He was happy. But it was just like, and then he asked me, why did I hide it from him? And I should have told him. And then he was like, how long has your mom knew? And why she didn't tell him? And that was their own little thing. But it gets worse, y'all. I thought he was cool with it. I thought he wasn't gonna tell nobody. But not like cool. I thought he like processed the information and was like, okay, it's gonna be fine, and I'm gonna go tell the people, like the family or whatever, myself. No, so I sleep in the next day. We hug it out. He was like just excited. We hug it out. He gives me a kiss and he's like, we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna call my boyfriend husband, and he's gonna have to come over tomorrow, and we're gonna have to, get into this. And I'm just thinking in my head, like, oh, I hope that goes well. Hope it goes well. So I sleep in. Someone's knocking on my door. It's like 11. My dad's like, hey, time to come downstairs. Everybody knows you're pregnant. And I have my uncle and my brother and everybody just looking at me. And we live in a 2-story house. So like it's like one floor, then like a little like I want to say like a little walkway, then the first floor, and it's like you go up the stairs and then it's flat, and then you go up the other stairs, and but through the walkway it has like a view to the kitchen table, and I'm just looking down and everybody's looking at me, and I turn back around. He's like, no, you come here, and I'm like, come in, and they just looking at me. And then my dad pulled me to the side before I even hit them stairs. They said, what are we gonna do to him? And I told them, let's not get into that right now. Like, like she is 18. And I think in a way too, he just knew that the way they were, that they were gonna come at me. And as a father, even though I didn't tell him, he still like stood 10 toes behind his favorite. I hate to say that. And he was just like, you're gonna be okay. Like, put your head up, girl. Like, you did it. Now it's time to own up to it. And I'm just like, okay, hi, yeah. And they were just looking at me like this. And I was just like, you know what? And then they told me, you know what, congratulations. They were all mad. All my uncles and my brother was pissed off. He was pissed off. So my dad's like, well, go ahead and tell him to come over and start bringing his stuff because he's moving in. And yeah. And I called him. I'm like, hey, my dad needs to talk to you. And then he came over. They had their own conversation. I don't really know what was said, but I just know he moved in the next day, my husband. And so we was living together at 18. I had my son at 19. By like now that I went through my whole pregnancy, we were excited. My dad was over here planning the baby shower and trying to take over, and My mom was obviously so happy, and my son is now 6, so gonna be 7. So this video is really just my story, but you know, sometimes teenagers get pregnant and they hide it. And after like that, we told my husband's dad, and I told him I'm pregnant, and he just looked at me the same thing, like, well, when's the baby coming? And I said, oh, about this time I was 8 months. I said next month. And he was like, heart attack, like, how come nobody told him? But I just told him, like, I was scared, and I'm sorry, I love y'all, but I don't know, I was just scared. And so everybody was happy, excited, because it was a boy, and they had just had like a girl a few years prior in my husband's family. So a boy was just, they were happy, they were thrilled. My dad was thrilled because there's no really babies or grandkids at the time, because he was fighting with my sister that he was like, you know. So it was good. It was good. It was good all the way around. He was super happy. But you know, sometimes teenagers don't really, they really hide things, and you can't get mad at them, because when you get mad at them, it just turns them, I guess, like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I should have told my parents. I have that relationship with my parents, but why I didn't tell them, I can't answer that. I can't answer that. I literally can't answer that. I guess I was just more nervous than anything. Now that I look back at it, and I'm grown, married, 3 kids, my own house, I do regret not telling them sooner. I feel like things would have been a lot easier. But you know, how I hid it was just wearing big shirts. Honestly, I started wearing big shirts, but you couldn't really see my bump the first time around. Now the second time around, everybody knew I was pregnant. By the second they look at me, they're like, oh yeah, she's pregnant. She's pregnant. Like, the second time it hit me like a truck, and then the third time as well, it hit me like a truck. So, but the first time, oh, and then once I told my dad, it's like my stomach just blew up. It literally like knew, like, it was like so skinny, and then, like, I kid you not, like a week later the baby was like boop. Like, yeah, girl, we needed that. We needed that. And everybody was like so in shock. I told my sisters, everybody, they were a little mad at the beginning. And they even told my cousin, like, girl, how did you know and not tell us? But she a real one, so shout out to you, Coco. Yeah, so that's my little story time on how I found out I was a teenage pregnant mom, pregnant lady, pregnant teenager. Yes, that's my story, and how I hid it for 7.5 months. Do I recommend it? No, but find someone you trust in, because it's gonna make the pregnancy go a lot smoother than you being by yourself. So that's the only advice I can give from my situation to you. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe. Bye, babes.